Hey everyone, welcome again to the Adult Autism, a Spectrum of Uniqueness podcast. And I'm joined by two folks today, Liz and Tabatha, and welcome to the podcast.
Hi, thank you.
So what I wanted to do on this episode today was to talk a little bit about the work experiences of autistic folks, because when I conduct evaluations, it never fails to amaze me that, and we talk about work experiences, it never fails to amaze me that there are challenges that come up in the work experiences. There are some very good things about work experiences, but there are some challenges as well. And I thought that today we could talk about some of those things and just to talk about your experiences as autistic folks in your work roles. And maybe a good place for us to start is just to kind of look back and if way back when you folks first started working at, for some people it's babysitting jobs. I mean, it could have been a lot of different things, but just kind of looking back, what was your first paying job? What was it like with you? And, what kinds of things did you learn about yourself in the world of work just by starting off way back when? And either one of you can start.
Um, I don't know if Tabitha wanted to go first. I'm fine either.
Okay.
Something, sure.
Liz, why
Or
don't
would
you
you
go?
go ahead?
Liz, why don't you
I'm
go ahead?
sorry.
Tabitha,
Okay, sure.
either one of
Um,
you can start. Liz, go ahead.
no, my very first paying job as a fully fledged adult was with the American Red Cross here,
Okay.
Charlotte Avenue. Here. Um, didn't pay a whole lot, but I'd gone to school. Everyone had told me I was good with art, so that's naturally the path I followed at
Sure.
college, which turned out to be not the best idea because obviously it's just not a really dependable job that I could like pay for the things that I needed. So I found myself with the Red Cross out of not being able to find work in that field.
Mm-hmm.
And it turns out that I actually enjoyed that, and I've pretty much been in laboratory work ever since.
Wow.
So probably the first thing I learned about myself was that the lab environment was probably the best fit. And as I got older and started taking these random tests, I think it's the Myers-Briggs test and
Yeah.
just different tests, personality tests and everything, the laboratory always came up as one of my optimal jobs to take. So I've pretty much just done that my entire life.
That's
Different
very
settings, laboratory jobs. So it's always been a good fit.
That's very cool. And I'm going to ask you a little bit more in a few minutes what you like about that kind of work. But it's interesting that it just kind of came sort of not maybe randomly, or you weren't even expecting to do something like that. Yeah, it
I,
happened to work out okay for you. So
it,
that's really cool to hear. Okay.
yeah.
Tabitha, how about you?
Dunkin' Donuts at 18. What was really unique about that job, I had no experience coming out of high school, had no idea what I wanted to do with my life. Always thought it was very strange that everybody in high school had some kind of goal and like
Yeah.
knew their whole life already pre-planned and in college and what their career was going to. I had no idea. I didn't even know really what I was good at.
Yeah.
And so at 18, I was waiting to get into college because my parents are like, if you don't know what you're going to do, go to college. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay. So I got a job at Dunkin' Donuts on the second shift, and come to find out the owners were they always hired people who were recovered drug addicts, alcoholics, like people who were not neurotypical
Yeah.
and would and that kind of spoiled me, I think, because they were always so understanding. And I got put into the back room decorating all of the donuts and all of that, so I didn't have to have a whole lot of social interaction. I could come out into the front and help if I wanted to, but if I started to feel overwhelmed, I could go hide back in the back with the baker.
Yeah.
And so I didn't realize, because I didn't get diagnosed until just last December, how much that I needed that kind of flexibility
Hmm.
to be able to be out when I feel more comfortable, and to be able to pull away when I feel overwhelmed.
Yeah, you could kind of get the breaks when you needed to get the breaks. Yeah, that makes total sense. Well, it's interesting because I think, when you look at somebody who's 18, some people go to college or whatever, some don't, but what 18-year-old really knows what they want to do for the rest of their lives, and so, but it's sort of like what happened to you is what happened to Liz is that you just happened to be in a work environment that sort of worked for you, and it was a good experience because you had that kind of flexibility. So, well, Liz, I wanted to go back to you because you had kind of alluded to this, the laboratory work and how you kind of liked doing that, and you've been in this kind of field for many years. How long have you been doing this kind of work, by the way, if I can ask?
30 since 1990. I
Okay.
went in 1990s when I started working at the Red Cross. I'm
Okay.
currently at Labs. I started at Path Group in 2015. So
About
it was red.
34-ish years, right around there.
Mhm.
Yeah. All right.
And I started
It's been a long
what
time. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, they call them lab assistants at, I don't know if they still call them lab assistants at Red Cross. They call them CLAs at Path Group. But I started as lab assistant slash CLA, and then I was motivated to go back to school and get certified as a lab technician, as a licensed professional, licensed to actually run tests and do things of that sort. So in the laboratory entirely, it's been since 1990, but as a licensed tech, it's been since 1995 that I've been
How
doing
did
that.
how
So
did you know? Because you probably really hadn't done anything like that before you got that job. I mean, how did you know that, boy, this seems to be a good fit for me? I mean, how did you know that?
I'm really not sure if I can answer that. It was just something that just felt good. I just enjoyed the work. I just knew that I enjoyed the work. I was really good at it. I'm still good at it. And it's just something that I was good at. It felt good. It was comfortable. It didn't involve patient contact because as a small child, I thought maybe being a doctor, but obviously that was a bad idea. My mother will tell you from birth, people would go to pick me up. Everybody else's kid would cry because they wanted to be picked up. I would cry because I wanted to put me back in my crib. So that's the idea, trying to do
Okay.
any of interacting with people. And had I known that phlebotomy was part of lab tech, part of the rotation, I probably wouldn't have gotten into it.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that, and I just kind of struggled through that part of it. But it was just something that felt good when I went to the Red Cross, and I liked the work, and it just felt good. And it was just something I just stuck with.
Well, what
It's
would you say that you like most about the work? If you had to pick something, what would you say that you like most about it?
it was that I could work at my own pace. Um, I was always thinking of ways to do things more efficiently. And so I found myself kind of outpacing everybody in the
Hmm.
laboratory. Even now at the job I'm working now, I find myself just kind of outpacing everyone in the lab. It's you work with your hands a lot, and you kind of have sort of autonomy depending on what shift you're working. And if you're working by yourself, you have that autonomy. You can work independently and you don't have to interact with people, especially the ones that, your personalities really clash and
Right.
things don't really have to work with people so much. Early on, I did, but the shift I was on, I was working with a lot of people. But as time went on and I moved to different shifts, I worked more and more. I found myself working alone, which I really, really enjoyed and I really needed. So,
You have that independence and you
yeah,
also have a little bit of that autonomy, flexibility, which is what you were talking about, Tabitha, in the Dunkin' Donuts job. Well, kind of looking at your work career, is there any job that you've had that you can kind of look back and say, man, I really like that job, and what was it about the job that you liked?
Unfortunately, I did not have the kind of experience that Liz did to be able to find my niche
Yeah,
younger. It took me like a good 10 years of trying different things
yeah.
to find my place. And finally, I started working in administrative executive assistant jobs, and that's where it really kicked in for me. Me being able to, I'm very hyper focused when I
Mhm.
work. I am super attention to detail. I think that the lovely part of autism is to be able to like zero in on a lot of things that maybe other people don't see.
Yeah.
And that's really where my baseline skills are, is everything that has to do with learning new technology very quickly, being able to pay attention to detail,
Mhm.
auditing, travel arrangements, all of those kind of things. I ended up getting a degree in criminal justice with a minor in sociology, and I went into the law enforcement field, and I have found that those are my people.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And that just is because in law enforcement, nursing, military, those people, and I grew up military, I grew up with a law
Okay.
enforcement officer, I grew up with a mother that was in nursing, and maybe that is also why, but
Right.
I've noticed that in that industry, people have a tendency to get right to the point. You don't have a lot of time to have a lot of extra words. You
Hmm.
just get right to it,
Yeah.
and that is so comfortable with being neurodivergent, is that I like to get to the point and get to where we've got to go and get to the goal, and and conversations of the fluffy kind.
Hmm.
How are you doing? How was your day? Like all of that. I'm like, we're at work. But
Yeah.
come on,
Let's
let's
cut
get
to the
going. What's
chase,
the
right?
point? What do you want me to
Yeah.
do?
So being task oriented is really your
Oh,
preference.
Oh, I'm totally task oriented. I
Okay.
love having something to do. My worst jobs have been the ones where I haven't had enough to do, and because I'm just getting at it, and then I run out of stuff to do, and they're thinking, "Oh, I gave you enough, for the whole day." And I'm like, "All right, I need more. Give me
Yeah.
more."
Well, I noticed that you two kind of have that in common. You also, I think that even in your role is that in both of your positions, you've had to have been detail oriented as well to be able to pay
yeah,
attention to those little things that, it'd be very easy for other people to overlook. But in your positions that you were just talking about, it seems like that's a very important thing, and something that you
yeah,
both value. Now,
yes,
let me kind of flip the coin, because we've talked about some things that you like about jobs. Let's look at things that you haven't liked so much about jobs, and because I think anybody in a work role may not like something about their job, and I'm wondering if being autistic, if there is something about being autistic has made certain work roles or work activities challenging for you, and what have you done to kind of deal with those challenges? So Liz, maybe you want to start off with that one?
Um, I'm still trying to find ways to deal with things. For me, it's some of us just really, really need our own space
Yeah.
at work. We like things a certain way, and I couldn't explain why I would get triggered if something was over here instead of over there where I left it the
Mhm.
day before. And
Okay.
I couldn't why it was upsetting to me. I just knew that it was upsetting, and that's like it's got to be over here.
Like
You
if
know,
somebody had moved something and
yeah, move
put it
things,
back or
change, put things, and again, I'm always thinking of ways to be a little bit more efficient, and I don't share very well. You hear your supervisors and HR saying, well, this belongs to the company and we have to share this. And I've always made a point of having my own supplies in my own little,
Hmm.
so that I can actually do more organized things differently than what everyone else is. And I can actually say, well, this is actually my stuff. So I don't
Right.
have, and I can put this away. The other problem I have, and is the communication and interacting with other people. I'm
Hmm.
always get people to read emails before I send them to a supervisor or something like that, because being a direct communicator and things, and I can't always gauge what's maybe not appropriate
Right.
to put in an email and how to address a supervisor. So I'm always getting somebody that has a better handle on people skills. Everyone
Mhm.
from my husband to, maybe my sessioner on my shift or someone in a different department to come and look at this email and see if it's appropriate. And they might say, yeah, that's good. You might want to reword that. You may not want to put that in there and things. So I'm always, for me, it's communication and people in my space, even someone coming over and saying, hey, I can help you do that. And I say, no, I don't need help. And they keep insisting that I need to let them help. And it's like, I'm fine. I need you to just get out of my space. Until I leave, this is my space and I don't need you in.
Sure.
I'm like chaotic over here, maybe to you, but everything is making perfect sense to me. And this really isn't as much as it looks like to you. I'll have this done in 5-10 minutes. So it really doesn't look, it looks a lot, it looks overwhelming to you, but it's not to me. This is nothing to me. And just having people just always wanting to be in that's in my space has always been a struggle or a challenge.
Yeah,
To,
as much as the independence is very important to you, getting people to understand that and to respect that can be
yeah,
a challenge at times.
yes,
And also, it sounds like your preference is not to be constrained or controlled, that even with the instruments or the things that you need for your work, that you've purchased your own things so nobody can tell you what to do, how to use them. So that kind of
yeah.
helps with that independence as well. Yeah, I get that. Okay.
And sometimes it's not, sometimes it's purchase things, but sometimes like one time at the Red Cross, they were getting rid of these racks, these particular test tube racks I had, they were just getting rid of them.
Okay.
I can use those because at the time I was doing a lot of bead work and small beads and things, and I had these little test tubes and things. I said, these racks are perfect. Can I have some of these racks? If you're throwing them out anyway. Oh, sure. Take as many as you want. So
Okay.
sometimes you're lucky enough to get people that work in different facilities where they're maybe throwing things out or something is expired and or they can't really use it anymore. They're moving to something different. And they're like, hey, they're getting rid of these scissors. Can you use these scissors? Like, not right now, but I may be able to use them. So yeah, I'll just get them and just kind of tuck them away and think that actually happened. I had a ton of scissors, I think from a dental lab that was getting rid of stuff. They work perfectly for processing tissue samples at the job that I'm in now. So
Okay.
I always found a way to just kind of have my own supplies so that I can use them and clean them the way I like and have them stored the way I like. And that's just important. And supervisors always say, let us know if there's something we can get for you to do your job they can't really deliver on that. And then if they do, they always come back and say, well, but this belongs to the company.
I see.
So if somebody sees that and they like it, they want to use it, then I have to relinquish that so that they can have an opportunity to use it. And I just don't, I just don't think people should be required to share things they don't want to share, even small children. You know, I know
Okay.
it's share, you're told as a kid, it's a nice thing to share, but I don't think a kid should be forced to share things if they don't want to share. So.
Okay. Yeah. How about you, Tabitha? Work challenges, jobs, activities that you've done in the past. It's like, oof, don't really care for that. And maybe how has autism kind of figured into some of those challenges?
I learned sales was not a really strong suit for me.
Okay.
I'm just not good and comfortable with I think everybody has their own gifts of what they're good and what they're not,
Yeah.
good at. And I discovered that sales wasn't just because of the um convincing others of
Hmm.
my point of view. I'm very much a what you see is what you get kind of
Right.
person. And that tends to make me be more open and honest than other people are. And that can kind of make, I've noticed over lifetime, make people uncomfortable because not everybody is open and honest. Not everybody is as introspective as maybe I've gotten to be over my lifetime. So taking personal accountability sometimes
Hmm.
can be viewed by others. I've noticed in the workplace a perception of weakness. So um, let's say if I recognize myself, because I think autism wise, we tend to think about our conversations in the past. Like we've had a conversation, and if something bothers us, we tend to go over it in our head. And at least that's the experience
Hmm.
that I'm having.
Yeah.
And in reflecting on that, if I happen to see somewhere in that conversation that I could have done something better, I will admit that to someone else. I will come out and be like, I'm not sure how you felt about that conversation. I felt that it could have gone better, but sometimes that I've noticed that people consider that awkward rather than an opportunity for open communication. That's how I view it. Is
Hmm.
is I love open communication because I think in communication you're able to resolve problems that at the very beginning, rather than allowing other people's feelings or your own feelings to build up about anything. We're all people, whether we're in the work environment or whether in the home environment, friends, family. Um, and in the work environment, people hold it a little closer to the vest. And so having an open conversation in communication, trying to get people to work through something that might have been awkward, or you might have had a disagreement, and to talk about that doesn't seem to be as accepting in that particular environment.
Hmm.
Um, I found it's kind of the only way that I can seem to function healthy is to be able to discuss something. And when someone else shuts down that avenue or considers that like in a negative way, like I said, as I mentioned, it's kind of like a perception of weakness, like, oh, she said that and now it's something negative rather than it being an avenue to positivity. I found that to be challenging, I guess, is my open and honesty in the workplace has been difficult at times. Not with everybody.
Hmm.
People who are introspective themselves, they appreciate that. But when you have other people who are still in their growth process, they may not be there yet to talk to, they're
You
not comfortable.
Yeah, you two kind of have sort of differences in how you kind of deal with other people. Liz, yours is just kind of let me do my own thing. I'm not really wanting to talk to you. I don't want a lot of interaction. Tabatha, with you, if you do, your preference is to just to kind of be honest and let it kind of out there. This is kind of the way it is. Um, and I'm wondering, sometimes when people are honest, that can bite them in the what and the behind. So I think that there are challenges in both of those ways, but it sounds like you've had some very positive things as well in your work roles over the years. We're kind of winding down toward the time that I have on the Zoom account. This only going to give me 8 more minutes before it shuts me down. But I'm wondering if you kind of look at advice that you have for autistic folks who are listening to this podcast. They're kind of having struggles of themselves in the workplace. Any words of wisdom that you have for people? Maybe you've been in their position or struggles that you've had. What would you say? What's one piece of advice that you would give to autistic folks who are struggling in the workplace? Liz, what comes to mind for you?
I would say in my case, the company I work for, the companies are all striving for this inclusion and open door and that sort of thing. And I'm finding that to not necessarily be true.
Okay.
I'm I'm not necessarily getting sensitivity support and everything. For
Mhm.
me, what helped me is to seek out things online, whether it's LinkedIn or different articles and things, because in my case, there's a different layer by me being Black and female, and
Mhm.
the stereotypes that are hung on us as Black women, the angry
Yes.
Black hope and things like that. So autism kind of amplifies that, I think. So
Mm.
for me, it's been helpful that people in the different department that I worked in previously, there are a couple of ladies down there that are also late diagnosed with ADHD and some other form of neurodivergence,
Yeah.
which explains why they understood my little quirks and things when I was
Yeah.
in that, because they're wired the same way. So it's been helpful for me to seek out people that actually have go through those same struggles, and
Mhm.
you can talk to one another and kind of lean on one another for support and understanding, because sometimes you just have to say things and move on from it, and you have to find those people that will listen and can understand exactly where you're coming from, and they're just going to listen and not judge.
So
And
finding people who get you and can
yes,
understand your experiences, maybe because they've kind of been through similar things as you
yeah.
have. So that's a great piece of advice right there. Tabitha, how about you?
I agree. Find your people.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that they need to be autistic even. I just the people who are supportive of you, who have are you're able to have a healthy soundboard with you need everybody needs someone who can understand and support them at home and in the workplace. But I would say be patient with yourself. We can all seek to improve ourselves in whatever ways that we have. For me, who are the open and honest people, maybe say the third thing that's on your mind and not the first.
Okay.
Give it a pause.
Yes.
That's been one of my lessons in life to learn as I've gone away, because I happen to be one of those openly expressive people. So
Yes.
um and then balance, because of that tendency to hyper focus. I in the workplace I started giving up self-care,
Um,
so learning to step back from that, and like even taking lunch was weird for me because I would interrupt my flow, and then to interrupt the flow was far more um, interruptive to me
Yeah.
than than to just keep going on the rhythm that I had going. You know, people were like, take lunch, take lunch. And to me, it was awkward to take
Right.
that lunch. But I know self-care wise, you've just got to be able to take that break and, you know, get up and walk around and sometimes reset your mind. Really good when you're overwhelmed. You know, I've had moments of workplace meltdown in my own mind, not externally, but being overwhelmed. And you've got to be able to be comfortable to walk away, to, you know, take that break and reset yourself. Whether that's, you know, going out of the building or locking yourself in the bathroom door, you know, like with your kids at home, because they won't leave you alone except when you go to
Yes.
the bathroom.
So
I'm
taking,
taking a shower.
yes, taking time for yourself is
If they're
needed.
not toddlers, that works. I'm taking
Yes.
a shower.
Yes, exactly. Well, listen, I really appreciate both of you coming on here. I mean, it would have been easy for us to delve into this a lot deeper, but we only had a limited amount of time today. But I appreciate both of you coming on, and good luck in your work roles as well moving
There's
forward.
always part two.
Part two.
Yeah, part two. Yes, exactly. So, well, listen, thanks again, and you two have a good rest of the day.
Thank you.
Thank
You
you,
too.
Thomas.
Okay.